Before I teach you how to think correctly, I want you to understand something very important. Your life is not shaped by what happens to you. It is shaped by what you believe about what happens to you. Two people can walk through the same storm. One becomes bitter, the other becomes better. The difference is not circumstance. The difference is thinking. Most people do not fail because they are incapable. They fail because they are untrained in their own minds. They wake up every day reacting instead of choosing, absorbing opinions instead of forming wisdom, and allowing fear to dictate decisions. Correct thinking is not positive thinking, it is intentional thinking. It is learning how to observe your thoughts instead of obeying them, how to question your fears instead of surrendering to them, and how to choose meaning over emotion. Your mind is a powerful instrument. When trained, it becomes a compass. When neglected, it becomes a cage. Every belief you hold is either building a bridge toward your future or constructing a wall that keeps you stuck in the past. The tragedy is that many people never examine the thoughts they repeat daily. They inherit beliefs, absorb limitations, and internalize doubt, never realizing they have the authority to challenge what no longer serves them. Correct thinking begins when you understand that thoughts create emotions, emotions influence actions, and actions shape destiny. If your thoughts are rooted in fear, comparison, and scarcity, your life will reflect hesitation and exhaustion. But when your thoughts are grounded in clarity, responsibility, and self-belief, your life begins to move with purpose. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" You were not created to live on autopilot. You were created to be conscious, aware, and deliberate. Correct thinking teaches you to separate facts from interpretations, to respond instead of react, and to understand that discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is often a sign that growth is happening. The strongest people are not those who avoid struggle, but those who learn how to think clearly in the middle of it. When you think correctly, you stop seeking validation from the outside world. You understand that confidence is not loud, it is grounded. You realize that setbacks are not punishments, they are redirections. And you begin to trust yourself, not because you know everything, but because you know how to learn from everything. Today, I am not offering you motivation that fades tomorrow. I am offering you a shift in perspective that can change your life forever. Learn to think correctly, and you will see opportunities where others see obstacles, peace where others feel chaos, and purpose where others feel lost. Change your thinking, and you don't just change your life, you reclaim it. Everything in your life begins with a thought. Before there is action, there is an idea. Before there is success or failure, there is a belief. Your life is not an accident, it is a reflection. It reflects the way you think about yourself, the way you interpret challenges, and the meaning you assign to every experience you encounter. Whether you realize it or not, your thoughts are constantly shaping your reality, quietly directing your decisions, your behavior, and ultimately your destiny. Most people believe life happens to them, but in truth, life responds to them. The way you think determines how you feel influences how you act, and how you act creates the results you live with every single day. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, your actions will be cautious, hesitant, and inconsistent. But when your thinking is clear, grounded, and intentional, your actions become confident, focused, and aligned with purpose. This is not theory, it is the invisible law that governs every human life. Many people struggle not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they are unaware of the stories they tell themselves. These stories become beliefs, and beliefs become instructions to the mind. If you constantly think, I am not good enough, your mind will search for evidence to prove that thought true. If you think, I am capable of learning and growing, your mind will begin to find solutions instead of excuses. Your mind does not argue with your dominant thoughts, it obeys them. Correct thinking begins when you take responsibility for your inner dialogue. It is the moment you stop blaming circumstances and start examining perception. Two people can face the same challenge. One becomes defeated, the other becomes determined. The difference is not intelligence, luck, or privilege. The difference is how they think about the situation. One sees an ending, the other sees a lesson. One sees loss, the other sees redirection. Your thoughts are powerful because they shape your emotional world. Fear-based thinking creates anxiety, resentment, and paralysis. Purpose-driven thinking creates calm, resilience, and courage. When your emotions are constantly unstable, it is often not because life is chaotic, but because your thinking lacks clarity. Correct thinking does not mean ignoring reality. It means interpreting reality in a way that empowers you instead of imprisoning you. Understanding that your life follows your thinking is both confronting and liberating. It is confronting because it removes excuses. It asks you to look inward instead of outward. But it is also liberating because it gives you control. If your thinking created your current situation, then changing your thinking can create a new one. You are not stuck, you are conditioned, and conditioning can be changed. When you learn to think correctly, you stop reacting emotionally to everything that happens. You pause. You reflect. You choose meaning instead of chaos. You understand that setbacks are not statements about your worth, they are feedback about your approach. You stop allowing temporary moments to define permanent beliefs. This is the foundation of emotional intelligence, self-mastery, and long-term success. Your destiny is not hidden in the future, it is being formed right now in the quiet moments of thought you repeat daily. Think with intention. Think with responsibility. Think with awareness, because when you change the way you think, you do not just change your mindset, you change the direction of your entire life. Most people believe their thoughts are automatic, uncontrollable, and simply reactions to life. But the truth is, untrained thinking is reactive thinking, and reactive thinking places your life in the hands of circumstances. Correct thinking is not about suppressing emotions or pretending challenges do not exist. It is about learning how to pause, observe, and choose your response with awareness. Emotional reactions are immediate, but intentional thinking is powerful, and the quality of your life depends on which one you practice daily. Emotions are valuable messengers, but they are poor decision makers. When you allow emotions to control your thinking, fear begins to look like logic, insecurity begins to sound like truth, and temporary feelings start making permanent decisions. Many people damage relationships, abandon opportunities, and sabotage their growth simply because they reacted instead of reflected. Correct thinking teaches you that feeling something does not mean you must act on it. Awareness creates space, and in that space lies wisdom. Intentional thinking begins with observation. You learn to notice your thoughts without immediately identifying with them. You begin to ask questions like, is this thought true? Is this thought helpful? And is this thought aligned with who I am becoming? This simple pause can change the direction of your life. Instead of reacting from fear, you respond from clarity. Instead of being controlled by impulse, you lead with intention. When thinking is emotional, life feels chaotic. Small problems feel overwhelming, criticism feels like rejection, and uncertainty feels like failure. But when thinking becomes intentional, perspective changes. Challenges become information, feedback becomes growth, and discomfort becomes a sign of expansion. You stop personalizing everything, and you start seeing situations for what they truly are, temporary moments, not permanent identities. Correct thinking also means understanding that emotions rise and fall, but decisions shape futures. You may feel unmotivated today, but discipline can still move you forward. You may feel afraid, but courage is choosing action despite fear. Intentional thinkers do not wait to feel ready. They move with responsibility. They understand that clarity comes from action, not from endless emotional analysis. Choosing awareness over reaction also transforms how you relate to others. Instead of responding defensively, you listen. Instead of reacting with anger, you seek understanding. Instead of absorbing other people's moods and opinions, you maintain emotional boundaries. This does not make you cold, it makes you grounded. Emotional maturity is not the absence of feeling, it is the presence of self-control. The most powerful people are not those who feel nothing, they are those who feel deeply yet think clearly. They allow emotions to inform them, not dominate them. They understand that reacting gives power away, while responding restores control. Correct thinking teaches you that you always have a choice, even when circumstances feel overwhelming. When you master intentional thinking, your life begins to feel calmer, clearer, and more purposeful. You stop being dragged by moods, opinions, and momentary impulses. You become the observer of your inner world, not the prisoner of it. This is how clarity is built. This is how confidence is formed. And this is how correct thinking turns from an idea into a way of life. Every person lives by a set of beliefs, yet very few people ever stop to question where those beliefs came from. Many of the thoughts guiding your decisions today were not chosen by you. They were absorbed through family, culture, education, past experiences, and even moments of pain. These beliefs settle quietly into the mind and begin to operate as truth, shaping what you attempt, what you avoid, and what you believe is possible. Correct thinking begins the moment you realize that inherited beliefs are not always accurate, and they are certainly not always aligned with who you are meant to become. From an early age, we are taught definitions of success, failure, worth, and limitation. We are told what is realistic, what is risky, and what is not for people like us. Over time, these messages become internal laws. You may believe you are bad at something you never truly explored, afraid of something you were never meant to fear, or unworthy of something you deeply desire. These beliefs do not feel like opinions, they feel like facts, and that is what makes them so powerful and so dangerous. Correct thinking asks you to pause and ask difficult questions. Is this belief based on truth, or is it based on fear? Did this belief come from experience, or from someone else's limitation? Does this belief empower me, or does it keep me small? Most limitations lose their power the moment they are questioned. Awareness exposes conditioning, and exposure creates choice. When you realize that a belief is inherited rather than earned, you gain the authority to release it. Many people live with beliefs formed during moments of pain. A failure becomes, I am not capable. A rejection becomes, I am not worthy. A mistake becomes, I always mess things up. These are not truths, they are conclusions drawn from emotion. Correct thinking teaches you that experiences inform you, but they do not define you. A moment does not get to name you. A chapter does not get to decide the ending of your story. Examining beliefs requires courage because it means stepping outside what is familiar. Familiar thinking feels safe even when it is limiting. Growth, however, demands discomfort. It demands that you release ideas that once protected you but now restrict you. Correct thinking is not about blaming the past. It is about reclaiming responsibility in the present. You honor where you came from, but you do not allow it to dictate where you are going. When you begin to question your beliefs, your world expands. Opportunities you once dismissed become possible. Goals you once feared begin to feel achievable. You stop living according to someone else's expectations and start aligning with your own potential. This shift does not happen overnight, but it happens deliberately. Every time you challenge a limiting belief, you weaken its grip. Every time you choose a new thought, you strengthen your future. Beliefs shape identity, and identity shapes behavior. When you change what you believe about yourself, you change how you move through the world. You speak differently. You act with confidence. You take risks you once avoided. Correct thinking is not about pretending to be confident. It is about building confidence through truth. Remember this, you are not obligated to live by beliefs you did not consciously choose. You are allowed to grow beyond what you were taught. You are allowed to redefine success, rewrite your story, and reframe your past. When beliefs are examined, thinking becomes free. And when thinking becomes free, life opens in ways you never imagined possible. One of the greatest misunderstandings in life is the belief that discomfort means something is wrong. Many people turn away the moment life becomes difficult, uncertain, or uncomfortable, assuming that struggle is a sign they are on the wrong path. In reality, discomfort is often a signal that growth is taking place. Correct thinking teaches you to reinterpret discomfort, not as a threat, but as a teacher. It is not there to stop you. It is there to shape you. Every meaningful transformation requires pressure. Muscles grow through resistance, character forms through challenge, and wisdom is earned through experience. Yet, when discomfort arises, the untrained mind panics. It rushes to escape, to numb, to retreat. Fear takes control, and thinking becomes clouded. Correct thinking allows you to pause, breathe, and ask a different question. Not, how do I avoid this? But what is this trying to develop in me? Discomfort forces clarity. It strips away illusions and exposes truth. When everything is easy, you rarely examine your thinking. But when life challenges you, your mental habits become visible. Do you blame or do you learn? Do you retreat or do you reflect? Do you assume failure or do you search for growth? These moments reveal not just who you are, but how you think. And once you see your thinking clearly, you gain the power to change it. Thinking correctly under pressure is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. It begins with emotional regulation. You learn not to make decisions in the peak of emotion. You understand that panic distorts perception and fear exaggerates consequences. Instead of reacting, you ground yourself in facts, in perspective, in patience. You remind yourself that discomfort is temporary, but the lessons it offers can last a lifetime. People who think correctly do not rush to label struggle as failure. They understand that confusion often precedes clarity, and resistance often precedes breakthrough. They know that being uncomfortable does not mean being incapable. It means being stretched beyond what is familiar. Growth cannot happen inside comfort zones because comfort demands nothing new from you. Discomfort demands adaptation, resilience, and mental strength. When you learn to think clearly during uncomfortable moments, you stop fearing change. You stop interpreting uncertainty as danger. You develop trust in your ability to navigate challenges even when outcomes are unclear. This trust becomes confidence, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that comes from self-mastery. You no longer need life to be easy to feel stable because your stability comes from within. Correct thinking also teaches that discomfort does not need to be rushed away. Some lessons require time. Some answers arrive only after endurance. When you allow yourself to stay present with difficulty, without self-judgment or panic, insight emerges. You begin to understand yourself more deeply, your values more clearly, and your direction more intentionally. Remember, discomfort is not a stop sign, it is a doorway. It is life asking you to grow, to expand your thinking, and to step into a stronger version of yourself. When you learn to think clearly under pressure, you stop being afraid of challenges and start using them. And in that shift, discomfort transforms from something you resist into something that refines you. There is nothing more powerful than a person who understands that their mind is their greatest asset. When you think correctly, you stop giving your power away to circumstances, opinions, or past experiences, and you begin to reclaim authorship over your life. Personal power does not come from control over others. It comes from control over your inner world. And that control begins with ownership. Ownership of your thoughts, your decisions, and your direction. Many people live in a state of mental surrender. They allow external events to dictate their mood, their confidence, and their sense of worth. A setback weakens them, a comment unsettles them, and uncertainty paralyzes them. This is not because they are weak, it is because they have not been taught how to think correctly. Correct thinking restores power by reminding you that while you cannot always control what happens, you can always control how you interpret it and how you respond. When you take ownership of your thinking, you stop living reactively. You stop blaming the past, other people, or circumstances for your present state. This does not mean ignoring hardship or denying pain. It means refusing to let those experiences define you. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of life, but as a participant in it. Responsibility becomes strength, not burden. It gives you clarity, direction, and the confidence to move forward even when conditions are imperfect. Thinking correctly also means setting mental boundaries. You learn not to internalize every opinion, not to absorb every criticism, and not to compare your journey to someone else's timeline. Comparison weakens personal power because it shifts focus away from your growth and towards someone else's progress. Correct thinkers understand that their path is unique, their pace is personal, and their success is self-defined. This awareness creates inner stability, regardless of external noise. Personal power is also restored when you align your thinking with action. Clarity without movement creates frustration. Correct thinking inspires responsibility, discipline, and consistency. You stop waiting for motivation and start honoring commitment. You understand that progress is built through daily choices, not dramatic moments. Each intentional decision strengthens trust in yourself, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. When your thinking is clear, fear loses its authority. Fear may still appear, but it no longer controls your behavior. You recognize it as information, not instruction. You move forward despite uncertainty, trusting your ability to learn, adapt, and grow. This courage is not loud or reckless. It is steady and grounded. It is the courage of someone who knows that mistakes are part of mastery, not evidence of failure. Ultimately, thinking correctly restores your sense of agency. You realize that your life is not happening to you. It is unfolding through you. You understand that every moment offers a choice: to react or to respond, to retreat or to rise, to repeat old patterns or to create new ones. And in choosing correctly, you shape your future. Remember this: when you master your thinking, you master your life. You reclaim your power, redefine your possibilities, and step into a version of yourself that is no longer controlled by fear, doubt, or limitation. Thinking correctly is not just a mindset, it is a commitment to live consciously, intentionally, and courageously. And when you do, your life begins to reflect the strength, clarity, and purpose you have always carried within you. As we come to the end of this message, remember this truth: your greatest responsibility in life is not to control the world around you, but to master the world within you. Everything you experience, success or struggle, clarity or confusion, passes first through your thinking. When your thoughts are unexamined, life feels heavy and chaotic. But when your thinking becomes intentional, your life begins to move with purpose and power. You have learned that your life follows your thinking, that emotions are guides but not leaders, that beliefs must be questioned, not inherited, that discomfort is a teacher rather than a warning, and that correct thinking restores your personal power. These are not just ideas to admire, they are principles to live by. When practiced daily, they change the way you respond to challenges, the way you see yourself, and the way you shape your future. You do not need to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect confidence. Growth begins the moment you choose awareness over reaction, responsibility over blame, and intention over fear. Every time you pause before reacting, question a limiting belief, stay present in discomfort, or take ownership of your thoughts, you are training your mind to serve you instead of control you. Life will continue to challenge you, but you no longer have to be overwhelmed by it. When you think correctly, problems become lessons, setbacks become redirections, and uncertainty becomes an invitation to grow. You stop living on autopilot and start living with clarity. You stop surviving and start leading your own life. So take this with you: you are not powerless, you are not behind, and you are not broken. You are becoming, and the key to becoming everything you are capable of being begins with one decision: to think correctly, consistently, and consciously. Master your thinking, and you will master your direction. Change your thoughts, and you will change your life.